In the headline, new applications for bail to be made for 2 officers awaiting trial in connection with the 2014 murder of Joshua Etienne. Tax relief among the DHTA's 2018-2019 national budget proposals. And significant investments in Dominica's Early Learners Program. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this. Thank you for staying with us. First up, a new application for bail will be made for 2 police officers on remand since 2014 awaiting trial for murder. Iduna Jean-Baptiste has that story.
The executive of the Police Welfare Association is making a case for bail to be granted to Constables Delvin Challenger and Martin Seaman, who are charged with the 2014 murder of Joshua Etienne. Chairman of the Police Welfare Association, Corporal Jefferson Drago, said the application for bail is on the basis that the High Court is not sitting due to the impact of Hurricane Maria.
Through their lawyers, we are in the process of attempting to get bail, apply for bail for them. I spoke to their lawyer on Friday, and she's working tirelessly in trying to get bail for them, because the fact is the High Court is not sitting right now, and there's no time frame as to when the High Court will commence.
Meantime, female officer Corporal Gemma Louis, who was cleared of the same murder charge, is to return on the job soon. Louis remained on suspension from the police force for a year and a month after being released from remand in April 2017 for Etienne's death. The development comes after the executive of the PWA met with National Security Minister Reuben Blackmore in June.
We stood with Corporal Gemma Louis, we fought with her, we prayed for her, we prayed with her, and we are very pleased. The police force is pleased that she is back. And I want to thank the authorities, those who felt it fit to initiate a reinstatement and to instruct the relevant authorities of a reinstatement. We'd like to thank the public for supporting her cause and for supporting the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force.
Sergeant Hayden Morgan and Constable Orlan Vigil were also initially charged with Etienne's death. However, the charge was eventually dropped. Iduna Jean-Baptiste, Channel 5 News.
In other top stories, $36,000 has been invested in developing Dominica's Early Learners Program. The investment comes from an agreement between the OECS and USAID Early Learners Program, which was signed 3 years ago to enhance early learning in the region. Dominica is receiving special treatment among the 5 other OECS countries benefiting from the grant. During the opening of a 2-day workshop to craft a sustainable early learning project, Education Officer with the USAID, Simone Brown, said the grant represents an over 50-year relationship between the U.S. and OECS countries.
In Dominica, through the Early Learners Program, USAID collaborates with the OECS to support 58 schools, over 280 classrooms, and nearly 4,200 students to improve their reading program. The School Grants Program is a small part, but very important and vital part of one of 7 components of the Early Learners Program designed to improve student reading, which you all are familiar with, including teacher professional development, distribution of teaching and learning materials, among other programs. So USAID is proud to contribute $36,000 in school grants geared towards the improvement of early grade reading in 15 schools throughout Dominica.
The grant falls under the School Improvement Planning component, and reading specialist for the ELP, Lisa Terrence, says teachers must be creative in developing best practices with the grant money.
This component of our program was really a competitive one where schools around the region actually had to compete for those grants so that they could work on projects to enhance readings in their schools. But we have decided to make a special arrangement for you in Dominica. And as you heard, 15 schools will be benefiting from these grants. We want you to leave here with really impressive, relevant, authentic reading projects that will reach your learners in a very meaningful way. So that's what's going to be happening under this component called School Improvement Planning.
Minister for Education Peter Sejan challenged teachers to utilize the grant money to create a sustainable early learners program within the schools.
Our teachers must have the competence to effectively implement techniques and methods that help children to learn to read from a very early age. They need to be able to teach the requisite decoding and comprehension skills that are essential for reading. And as educators, we often take these skills for granted, assuming that students will naturally adopt these abilities as they move through the school system. Instead, these skills must be meticulously taught so that our students grow into active readers, able to better appreciate the written word and its various interpretations and meanings.
15 schools are benefiting from this grant money. Each school received $6,500. In other developments, tax relief for the hotel sector and a boost in agreements with airlines among the Hotel and Tourism Association's proposals to government ahead of the national budget presentation. Executive Vice President of the DHTA, Kevin Francis, says the body has in the past made government aware of these challenges. The DHTA retabled its previous year's proposal at the 19th June budget consultation with Cabinet.
We've been advocating for a few things over a number of years, including investor experience, which would look at some of the tax laws to make it just a little bit easier to do business in Dominica as a hotelier. We also spoke about access and infrastructure. When we talk about access, we're talking about these access agreements that pre-Maria were in the pipelines. Now, post-Maria, we need it more than ever.
While the tourism minister recently spoke of better access to the island with agreements with airlines, Francis says greater effort is needed on that front.
So we're talking about arrangements with Norwegian, with Air Antilles, with Air Caraïbes, and Express des Îles. These agreements, in principle, needs to be firmed up, shored up, and put on paper, and let's get it going. I know that they have made several strides in that area, but there's still a lot more work to be done. The industry is in a state that we're lacking a little bit of confidence, and we needed the support of the public sector to help instill that confidence back into the sector, into the industry, and hopefully in the next budget presentations, a lot of these things that we've spoken about will be addressed.
The DHTA would also like to see measures in the 2018-2019 budget that will address vagrancy and garbage disposal.
We can't want to speak about climate change and our resilience and ignore the other environmental factors that we have going on in Dominica. So we're definitely pushing for tougher and little laws, and not necessarily tougher, but just the implementation. I think we have as the issue, and enforcement. It may be an unpopular decision to say, well, hey, you threw a plastic bottle on the road, I'm gonna charge you, or whatever the case is. It may be unpopular, but these kind of unpopular stances need to be made.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Coming up, some advice on hurricane shelters for those who use them.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Welcome back. Attorney General Levi Peter has expressed a willingness to respond to recommendations from all and sundry concerning the proposed anti-terrorism legislation.
The recommendation should be submitted to the chambers of the Attorney General by July 15.
Those comments, recommendations will be reviewed, considered, and as I indicated, where appropriate, if at all, they will be taken on board and the appropriate adjustments made. So really, anybody who wants to comment, those who have been indicating that they have great concerns, all they have to do is put their concerns on it, their comments, their recommendations in writing.
Peter noted that contributions on the bill are welcomed by all sectors of society, and thereafter some level of interaction will take place.
If it's considered that a contribution has no real merit, there is a good chance it may not be responded to. The intention is to try to respond to everybody, even if their suggestion, their comment, their recommendation is not going to be taken on board. But of course, that would depend on how many people make a contribution, and the manpower resource that takes up. But the intention is to respond to everybody.
Okay. Would government have a time frame by which they would have to now take this bill to Parliament again for the second and third reading?
Well, the government has no time frame. The government was quite within its rights and could have done, and some would say should have, proceeded to all three readings as was planned at the sitting of Parliament just ended. However, recognizing that from various sectors, there were indications that people had concerns, and some people were asking for the passage of the bill to be delayed. The government took the view that it was not overly problematic to give some further time, and to allow people some time to make those contributions. So we will see how serious people are with by their responses.
While Dominica considers enacting harmonized anti-terrorism legislation, Florida has amended its terrorism legislation to include something that most of us make use of on a daily basis.
The new Florida law, which took effect on July 1, is related to written threats to kill, do bodily harm, or conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. That law has been amended to include all posts on social media. It states any person who makes, posts, or transmits a threat in a writing or other record, including the electronic record, to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism in any manner that would allow another person to view the threat commits a felony of the second degree. A felony is the classification of the most serious types of crimes covering a wide range of criminal acts such as murder, burglary, or arson. Punishment for these crimes could include up to 15 years in prison in the United States. Felony sentences may even end up in the death penalty if that state allows. Here in Dominica, government has had to postpone the second and third readings of the anti-terrorism bill to allow for the opposition to submit recommendations. Attorney General Levi Peter has stressed that those recommendations should be in by July 15. The Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches is also working on submitting its own recommendations.
And as Dominica and the rest of the region tick off 1 month on the 2018 hurricane season, Acting Local Government Commissioner is offering some much-needed advice to potential shelterees. Glenroy Tusa says those who seek shelter must be mindful of the rules which apply, as they are there for a reason. He indicated that a massive sensitization campaign needs to be undertaken to better inform those who will need shelter during an emergency.
We have to go on a serious public education drive as well, to allow people to understand that there is nothing in, you don't come to a shelter with your hands swinging, so to speak. People often come and believe that there's food in the shelter already provided. First of all, the first function of a shelter, an emergency shelter, is for the first 24 hours, you are sheltered for the first 24 hours, let's say 24 to 36 hours. After the hazard has impacted, you have to go back home to see what happened. If something happened, then it's another thing. But if nothing happens, you get your stuff at the shelter and you go back home. A lot of people tend to think that if they stay in the shelter, that they will get something.
Toucey reiterated that sensitization must be an ongoing process as people need to understand that the stay at the shelter is temporary.
That we have to go on a serious public education drive to allow our people to understand that when you come in with some dry, we always say that, come with some dry foods or some stuff for at least your medication, your important document, your passport, your land paper, your land document, some money, that kind of thing. Secure those things and you come to the shelter. At least some food supplies for at least 24 to 36 hours. So at least that can help you. And after that, following which an assessment will be made and the state will decide whether we continue to have people in shelters as the case may be, as we do in following Hurricane Maria.
To end the news, the headlines again. New applications for bail to be made for 2 officers awaiting trial in connection with the 2014 murder of Joshua Etienne. Tax relief among the DHTA's 2018-2019 national budget proposals. And significant investment for Dominica's Early Learners Program. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access or pass the newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.